Hello, and thank you for joining us on 24 Plus. I'm ABC24 anchor Pepper Baker. Shelby County is now split into 3 congressional districts. That's 5, 8, and 9, following the Tennessee General Assembly's special session on redistricting. District 9 was the only Democratic majority black congressional district in the state, but now that is no longer the case. Friday, May 15th is the new filing deadline for candidates to declare their run for Congress. And one of those candidates for Tennessee's 9th Congressional District is here at the table, Republican State Senator Brent Taylor. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here, Pepper. You know, I've been a state senator now for 4 years, and I've never been on your program, never been interviewed by you until the last 3 weeks. And this is my, third time to be with you. So I'm glad you finally saw the light and decided to invite me.
Well, I've been here for 3.5 years, so yes, you're right. Maybe we should have had you on here earlier. Maybe you were declining us. But anyways, maybe not. Let's start with just why now? Why are you running for Congressional District 9 now?
Well, as you know, the General Assembly, we redid the congressional districts following the Supreme Court ruling that said you can only draw political lines based on political data. And as we drew the lines, I remained in District 9. I was in District 9 before we redistricted. I remain in District 9. And when I saw that the district was going to be majority Republican, I thought, you know, people have recognized me as the fighter who fought to make Memphis matter by standing up to Tennessee's only Soros-funded DA, by fighting to reduce crime, which ultimately led to the president sending the Memphis Safe Task Force here. And I worked with Senator Marsha Blackburn, who has endorsed my candidacy for Congress. I worked with her in Operation Viper, which was the precursor to the Memphis Safe Task Force. And so I started getting calls from people in West and Middle Tennessee who said, Senator Taylor, we want you to run for Congress because we've seen you fight to make Memphis matter, and we want to see you fight to take Tennessee to the top. So I immediately announced, and Senator Blackburn, Senator Haggerty, and a whole host of other elected officials have endorsed my candidacy for Congress, and I look forward to serving in West and Middle Tennessee in District 9.
We're going to unpack the redistricting decision a little bit more, but you know, you said you were in District 9 before it was redistricted. You're in District 9 now, even with the new lines. So why didn't you think to run before this?
Well, because it was not a majority Republican district. If you watch the debate in the General Assembly, the debate was very clear that this was a partisan exercise. It was the General Assembly made no bones about it, that we wanted to draw the boundaries so that Republicans would be advantaged in the election, and that we as Republicans wanted 9 congressional districts across the state, not 8 and 1, but 9. And so it was a political exercise. And the way the old District 9 was, it was a 60% Democrat district. And so once it became a Republican district and one that I could easily represent, I decided to run for Congress under the new District 9.
So you did it because you have better chances. Is that fair to say? You have a better chance running now.
As a Republican, I would come on here being elected as a Republican in the new 9 than in the old 9.
Okay. Did you have, well, let's talk about your campaign. I want to get into the redistricting because that is still a very hot topic and everybody, you know, there's still new developments even today. But I want to talk about your campaign. Now that you are running for Congress, what issues are you planning to run on?
Well, what you will see from me in Congress will be very similar to what you've seen with me in the state Senate. I'm going to continue to fight, and I'm a fighter who wins. You can look at my record in the state Senate. I campaigned that I was going to reduce crime. I campaigned that I was going to improve our education system. Those were 2 heavy lifts that I got done in one term. We reduced crime by 50% by raising 10 kinds of hell that eventually caught the attention of Senator Blackburn and President Trump, that he sent the Memphis Safe Task Force here, and our education system. We talked previously about how 75% of our students at MSCS are graduating, they can't even read. But we got a school intervention plan passed that I was a sponsor of. And what I think people in West and Middle Tennessee will see is that those fights might not be specific to them, but the fighter in me is specific to them. And I think they're looking forward to seeing a fighter being elected to Congress in the 9th District that will go up and fight for their efforts and their issues. And so that's what I'm looking forward to do. And so what I look to do is the same thing I've done as a state senator, and I'll charge the gates of hell with a squirt gun if I think I can make lives better for Tennesseans.
And then you did mention just kind of like, issues that may pertain to some counties versus others. So, with this new district, it does stretch all the way into Williamson and Marshall and Bedford counties. And then, you're going all the way back west to Memphis, which your district is Whitehaven, more of the South Memphis neighborhoods. So how do you plan to campaign to where you will be relatable to all of that?
Well, Pepper, that's actually why these districts are better than what the old District 9 was. The old District 9 was simply an urban core with a half of a rural county stuck on top of it in Tipton County. And so the Congressman Cohen, he only had to cater to that one specific urban core to be elected. What all of these districts do now, that all 9 of them, they all look like Tennessee. And if you take District 9, the new 9, it stretches from an urban core in Memphis. It stretches through suburban communities in eastern Shelby County and in Williamson County. It stretches through rural areas. And this district looks like Tennessee. And that's why congressmen have to run every 2 years, because they have to constantly be in front of the voters, and it requires that we do that in order to be reelected. And I think these are better districts because they reflect really what Tennessee is. It's a microcosm of what Tennessee is, and I look forward to working with my new constituents in that district, because I was born and raised in a small area. I was born and raised in a rural town down in Mississippi. I moved to Memphis as a young man. I took out a home equity loan and started my business, so I've signed the front and back of paychecks. I've served in a legislative capacity at the city level, the county level, chairman of the election commission, now I serve in the state senate, and I am prepared to be the next congressman from District 9. Okay. And this is the district that Davy Crockett once represented.
Wow.
And I've got the same Tennessee grit that Davy Crockett had.
I did not know that. Okay, wow. So, okay, let's talk about Democrats, though, here, and the minorities who had their votes split up in Shelby County. People who may view you as very far right. So how do you plan to appeal to them in that demographic?
Well, they'll learn that I'm not far right. What they mean is I'm right so far. If you look at my record, where I have fought and won to reduce crime and to improve educational outcomes, those are the kinds of things that transcend party. Look, it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican. People want to be able to feel safe in their homes, feel safe in their community, and they want to be able to send their kids to a school where they more than 25% are able to read when they graduate. So that transcends party, and I think people in District 9 are going to look at my record, both Democrat and Republican. And look, I realize I got a lot of haters out there that are Democrats. I read social media posts. They don't care for me, at least there. But you know what happens? Those people, namely Democrats, they love to cuss me, but when they need something, they call me. So they call me cuss him and call him Taylor.
Okay. Anybody specific you're willing to name drop?
Well, you know, read my mean. I do mean tweets, so I read those aloud to the camera, and I mention their names there.
Okay. Your campaign trail for the next 2.5 months. You know, what does that look like? Are you going to do town halls? Are you stopping in particular cities within each county?
I will be taking the biblical approach to campaigning, and that is wherever 2 or more are gathered, there I shall be also. And so I plan to campaign in every corner of District 9, from Whitehaven all the way to Williamson County and every rural hamlet in between. And again, I think I can relate to people in the new 9 because I have served on the Memphis City Council, which is that urban core. I have served the county commission representing suburban areas. I came from a rural background. I grew up in the lumber business. And, you know, I'm a funeral director by profession, which makes me somewhat of a southern farmer. I've never had a harvest, but one glorious day, everything I planted will have a harvest.
Okay, I'm loving the analogies and similes and the biblical references. Let's talk about redistricting now. Okay, I think we got your campaign a little bit out of the way there. So the way that District 9 was drawn, and you know, the word bulge is like being thrown out there with how it is drawn, and maybe drawn in a way that included your address, but you made it clear that your address was already included in District 9 even before the redrawing. But it did draw out some other Democratic, not only candidates, but the incumbent as well. Were you privy to that? Did you know about these lines or the redistricting before it went to the special session?
I did not. I had not seen the official map until it was released to the Judiciary Committee, which was responsible for vetting the map. That was the first time I saw the official map. And you're right, there are a lot of bulges. It is very similar to going to the workout room where people are wearing spandex. There's a lot of bulges. But if you look at the districts that existed previously, there were a lot of bulges there as well. I will tell you that, and it's disingenuous of Congressman Cohen to say that Shelby County is being split 3 ways and somehow that is bad for Shelby County. Number one, it means Shelby County will have 3 congressmen to advocate for it rather than just 2. But if you look at the map in 2002, it is very, very similar to the new 9. It carries about 2/3 of the same counties, and it even had more bulges than this new 9, and Steve Cohen voted for it as a member of the Tennessee State Senate. And the reason I know that, and Shelby County was split 3 ways then, the reason I know that is because I ran for Congress in 2002 when Marsha Blackburn was first elected to office and as a congressman. And all I can tell you is you ain't had a butt whipping till you get you one of them Marsha Blackburn butt whippings. And that's why I chose not to run for this unless I had her full support. But if you look, those are very similar to the district lines, and a lot of the same counties are in the new 9 that were in the old 7th Congressional District 25 years ago.
I know you say that Shelby County will have 3 congressmen to represent it, but they're also representing a lot of other, again, rural going towards more middle Tennessee areas. So how is there going to be a guarantee that Memphis and Shelby County will have their voices heard if they're having to kind of cater to so many?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Number one, that's just the nature of congressional districts. They have to have roughly 780,000 people. And
well, it was, but District 9 was different in the fact that Shelby County really comprised of that one. So it wasn't traditional for that area.
Well, but it is because the Supreme Court said that the old District 9 was unconstitutional. And so we had to correct that because we didn't want people to go into the voting booth in the old District 9 and voting for a congressman in a district that is unconstitutional. And you could debate whether or not the Supreme Court made the right decision. You could disagree with the decision, but the decision is the decision. It's the law of the land. Old 9 was unconstitutional because it was drawn specifically using race data, and the Supreme Court said you cannot do that. So we redrew the lines. I will tell you, in looking at that new 9, this is Shelby County's one shot at keeping 2 congressmen. The population base for the new 9 is in and around Nashville and Williamson County and those eastern counties. There is very little of Shelby County in that district. Matter of fact, that makes up about 8% of the population base. But because of the unique nature of this campaign, the compressed timetable, the fact that I am a sitting state senator with personal resources that can self-fund this campaign, this is Shelby County's only shot at keeping a second congressman. It was not drawn for Shelby County, it was drawn for those counties in Middle Tennessee. And so people just need to get a grip and realize that we're gonna get, if you don't like the new districts, I get it, but screaming like you're in the rec room of an insane asylum is not helping when we have an opportunity to elect me to Congress, and that will be the opportunity to keep a second congressman.
So we also were going through some legal challenges with the congressional maps, and we're learning today that, and working to get that confirmed because it's happening as we're talking here, that the lawsuits against challenging this most likely won't stand, and that this new congressional map will in fact move forward. So, does that at all challenge your legitimacy as far as, you running only after these lines were drawn?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you question my legitimacy as a state senator?
I mean, you were elected as state senator, so you are a state senator.
All right. You know what happened when I ran for state senate? I will tell you what happened when I ran for state senate. I filed as a candidate for state senate. Those districts were challenged in court. They said that the districts were unconstitutional. The filing period was extended by 1 month. And the court ultimately decided that the courts were not, or the courts ruled that the districts were not unconstitutional, They closed the filing period. I ran and was elected. No one has questioned my legitimacy as a state senator when the conditions of which I was elected as a state senator are very similar to the conditions that I will be elected as a congressman. And I'll go all the way back to the late 1900s when I was elected to the city council. There was a delay in the filing period back in the 1995 over a federal voting rights lawsuit. Same set of circumstances of whether or not the districts were accurately reflecting the black population, and there was a federal court case that delayed the filing. I was ultimately elected, and no one questioned my legitimacy there. This legitimacy argument is just made up by people who know they're losing the case, and they want to try to drag down the front runners for the race and try to question my legitimacy as a congressman when I'm elected.
The petition deadline is tomorrow, but we do have a list here of some of the names that are at least pulling petitions. We have incumbent Steve Cohen, obviously, Representative Justin J. Pearson. We have State Senator London Lamar out here. As far as the Republican side, obviously you, Charlotte Bergman is a name that's quite familiar to me. Do you feel like this is a tough race? Like, are you at all, your chances? I mean, London Lamar had a really good exchange between Senator Stevens, who was one of the co-sponsors of this bill, where, she asked him about whether or not he knew if Shelby County was predominantly black. These are some big names. So, your chances against them. I know this is a new redrawn district favoring Republicans, but it seems like this is they're going to put up a fight here. That's
fine. I am, as I told you, this is the same district that Davy Crockett represented. I have the same Tennessee grit that Davy Crockett had. I don't have a coonskin hat, but I got a Make Memphis Matter hat. And I look forward to whoever the Democrats nominate. I look forward to a challenging campaign, but I feel very confident because of the partisan makeup of this district. I feel very confident about my chances of becoming Tennessee's next congressman.
Okay, and were there any, I know you weren't privy to the map before the special session, but I'm sure you've had many conversations about it since. So was there any consideration not to split up Memphis and Shelby County?
No, again, the reason we did this is for partisan purposes. The court said you can not use race data when drawing congressional district lines. You can only use political data to draw political lines. That's what we did. And Pepper, if you think about it, we don't hire people based on race and any other thing. You got your job not because you're black. You got your job because you're really good at it and you're the best person for the job. We shouldn't hire congressmen based on a district that was drawn specifically to elect a black. Blacks can compete in the realm of ideas. They can compete and win office. There are black congressmen now that represent majority white districts. And so I don't feel that blacks somehow can't compete any other way. I think their ideas are as good as anybody else, and they ought to get in the arena and run for office and put their ideas out there and let the voters make a decision.
It wasn't just about, black people, though. We're talking about the only Democratic congressional seat, the 1 out of the 9.
But the courts have said you can obliterate.
And you said partisan.
That's right. The courts have said if Republicans want to obliterate Democrat districts, you can do it for political and partisan purposes, but you cannot use race data in doing that. You can only use political data.
And so Shelby County was the go-to as soon as SCOTUS ruled on Louisiana.
That's correct. And it's because Nashville, the legislature did it to Nashville 2 or 3 years ago when they divided Nashville up and denied Nashville their Democrat seat. And race wasn't a factor then, and it's not a factor this because we use simply political data, which is what the Supreme Court ordered.
And speaking of the Supreme Court decision in Louisiana, which, like you said, becomes the lay of the land, but why couldn't this wait until a census data year? Why did it have to be now while we're already disrupting already people's campaigns and elections that were very much underway?
Yeah. Well, the same reason when the courts rule something unconstitutional, they don't allow for a wind down period for any other law that they rule is unconstitutional. If the courts say something is unconstitutional, it has to stop immediately. And what they said is that districts like District 9, the old 9, was unconstitutional because it had used race data in drawing that district to ensure that you would most likely get a black candidate, which interestingly enough, Steve Cohen is white, which proves that blacks don't need black districts to elect the people of their choice. But the state did not want the voters of the old 9 to go in and be casting votes in a district that had been ruled unconstitutional. We had the time to fix it, and we did. And again, there's no doubt about it. We said as much, that we were doing it for partisan advantage. We want that additional Republican seat in Congress. I look to be that congressman so that I can provide impeachment insurance against President Trump, because if the Democrats maintain control of the House, they will keep him tied up in knots for the next 2 years, and I would rather see him continue implementing his America First agenda, which will make us all better with lower taxes, a safer world, and a better Tennessee. And that's why I'm running, because I want to fight to take Tennessee to the top.
Okay. All right, so we're coming towards the end of this here.
You didn't seem convinced.
Well,
you're convinced, right?
You talk a good talk, I'll say that.
All right.
And so President Trump's agenda is something that Senator Marsha Blackburn also is behind. And clearly that is, you are bandwagoning on that as well. As I don't even know if bandwagoning, you've been like this for a while. But as far as waiting, do you know what's going on in Mississippi? Obviously with District 2?
My mother lives in Mississippi, and she keeps me abreast of who died and who's in the hospital. But when it comes to the politics down there, I've not been following.
Okay, so Governor Tate Reeves decided not to have the special session.
All right.
And there's District 2, which is a Democrat seat, and could have willingly flipped it, but decided not to. So when we talk about SCOTUS's decision on Louisiana and needing to really, ramp up efforts to change District 9, we're seeing in Mississippi where they're holding off. It doesn't necessarily seem like it had to happen at this moment unless, the powers that be in that state want it to happen. So is that what's happening here? It's not the lay of the land per se. If SCOTUS makes a decision in Louisiana, Mississippi's holding off, Tennessee couldn't?
Yeah, well, you heard what I said. I said that the General Assembly decided that we did not, given the Supreme Court ruling, that we did not want people in the old 9 to go in and cast ballots in an unconstitutional district. Look, Mississippi can make their own decision, but as Tennesseans and as somebody that's in the legislature, we made the decision that we did not want people casting votes in an unconstitutional district. What Mississippi does is irrelevant to me. We have a new map, and I am headed toward campaigning in this new 9, and I will be representing Davy Crockett's old district.
Does it feel divided right now? Does it feel divided between Democrats, Republicans, this congressional map? Is it further dividing people and constituents that you will need in all of these counties? Or how do you bring it? How do you bring unity?
Look, there is no doubt that the era we are in is hyper-partisan. Look no further than what you saw in the General Assembly when we approved these lines. What we saw, the meltdown that we saw in the state Senate, I can only speak for the Senate because I saw it with my own eyes, where you had senators who obviously were losing votes, and I lose votes all the time in the Senate. But you know what I don't do? I don't act like a damn fool and hop up on a desk and do the equivalent of what looks like a table dance you might see in a gentleman's club simply because the vote didn't go your way. And several years ago, I made a comment on the Senate floor where I was debating a bill, and I said, I am working harder than an ugly stripper to get the bill passed. And Senator Oliver was offended by my comment, and I never really understood why. And then fast forward to this session, and she ends up doing a table dance on her desk on the Senate floor. Now, I'm not drawing a connection, but I'll let viewers that see if there's a connection between those two things. But it was shameful what happened, and they wonder why Republicans saw the need to have to draw this Republican district, because it matters, Pepper, who governs. And what we saw from the Democrats, no one would want people like that governing this state, much less the nation. So that's why we drew the districts the way we did, because Democrats in this state seem to be incapable of governing.
And along that note, House Speaker Cameron Sexton recently made a decision to remove Democrat caucus members from committees and subcommittees in the House. What do you feel about that decision?
Well, that decision is for Speaker Sexton to make. I probably would have made a similar decision had I been Speaker of the House. There will be punishment for those members in the Senate. We move a little bit slower than the House does, but before the legislature reconvenes, those senators will be reprimanded in some sort of way and probably will lose their parking privileges in the state garage. They could lose their committee assignments. They could lose their offices. They're not guaranteed offices. The only thing a member of the legislature is constitutionally assured is a desk on the floor and the ability to vote on bills. Anything else that they have in terms of staff, office, parking, letterhead, anything else is a privilege of being in the legislature, not a right. The only thing they have a right to do is to vote. So there will be ramifications for the behavior of the Democrats.
I did wonder, so you mentioned the behavior in the special session. If your constituents were voicing to you how angry they were about maybe their voice or their vote losing power, and what would be your reaction to fight for those people?
Not that.
What would it be then?
It would not be standing on the desk doing a table dance that you'd see in a gentleman's club. It's not that. It would be debate. It would be, look, it's fine to be very forceful and even to pound the table for effect. But when the vote is cast, the vote is cast. That vote does not belong to them. That vote belongs to 210,000 Tennesseans. And collectively, the vote belongs to 7 million Tennesseans. And to get up and act like a fool is not the way you govern this state. And so I was deeply disappointed in the Democrats. We have policy differences all the time. I lose votes. I get upset. I get angry. Earlier in the session, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee made me very upset over a vote. But I didn't get up on the table and start singing. I simply cast my vote, and I was pissed off, and I remained that way till I got over it. So I would encourage the Democrats to do what I did, and that's call HR and fill out a hurt feelings report and move on.
Okay, lasting questions here. Before the special session, do you feel like, or during, excuse me, were people listening to the arguments from the Democrats on the state Senate floor? Were they actually listening, or was the decision already made for these districts to be redrawn?
That is a great question. I'm glad you asked it. People were listening to their argument. I know for a fact that going into that last day, the floor vote, there were 4 Republican senators that were going to vote against the redistricting plan. But when and I could give you their names, but I won't.
I can look it up.
But what happened is when they saw how the Democrats were acting with staging the protest, charging the well, dancing on the table like a table dance, those 4 Republicans switched their votes and voted with the Republican majority. So their antics actually cost them votes.
Really?
Yes. And I could.
There were 4.
There were 4 Republicans going in that were going to vote against the redistricting plan for the reasons you stated. They said, look, we could do this. We don't have to do this now. We could do it in time for the 28 election. But the Democrats' antics actually cost them votes.
Now, on the other side in the House, Representative Mark White and Gillespie voted against redistricting. And you work closely with Mark White. We had both of you here about the state intervention plan. You know, I know your state senator, their House, they have their own decisions. But doesn't that say something when Gillespie and White, who are representatives of Memphis, vote that this is not the right plan or to go forward with?
That's their opinion. I still love them. I love my wife. She don't agree with me sometimes. I don't even agree with myself sometimes. So. Look, they cast the vote that they thought was in the best interest of their constituents. I voted in the best interest of my constituents, and I think the state legislature as a whole cast vote based on what Tennesseans want. We are a ruby red state, and we wanted all 9 of our congressional districts to be Republican, and that's what we went into special session to do. And we came, we saw, we drew, and we left.
All right, so as we wrap this up, I will be remiss if I don't address this with you. So we did ask you to come here with Justin J. Pearson, Representative Justin J. Pearson, who did interview with us yesterday. And you can catch that interview on YouTube or ABC24.com. What was your reasoning as to why you didn't want to come and sit with both of us?
He's not a serious person. Look at how he conducts himself in the House. And anyone that goes up into the gallery and looks at the law enforcement people there who are protecting you, protecting me, and he stands up and screams in their face that they are a MF boy, I don't share the stage with anyone like that, and they just prove that they're not a serious person. And look, he's got the whole clown outfit together. He's got the hair. The only thing missing is the nose and the makeup. And so if he's the nominee, I look forward to campaigning against him for the general election.
Would we see a debate between you two ever? Because will you ever share the stage with him?
I do not share the stage with anybody that stands in the face of law enforcement and calls them an MF boy. He would not want that treatment, and he should not treat other people that way. It doesn't matter how angry you are. Look, we all get angry. I get mad, but never in a million years would I ever stand up in front of a law enforcement officer's face and call him an MF boy. And I tell you what, it's dangerous what he does, because he has some privileges as a state lawmaker that law enforcement is going to react to him differently doing that kind of thing. But when his constituents see him stand in front of a police officer and call him an MF boy, what do you think they might do if they're in a traffic stop and they think the officer's wrong? They're going to try to emulate that, but they don't have the privilege of being a state lawmaker. That's how people die at the hands of law enforcement, not because law enforcement was seeking them out. It's because of their behavior toward law enforcement. And Justin J. Pearson, pretending Pearson, is only adding to that by allowing people to think that they can get away with that same type of behavior. It's reprehensible, and I don't share the stage with people like that.
I can feel the steam coming off. You're getting a little mad there. I see it. Back to the front.
I might get so mad I might stand up here and do a table dance.
Oh my gosh. Back to the beginning. I just want to wrap it up here. You know, as you go on to your campaign, could we expect to see Senator Marsha Blackburn or President Donald Trump or Governor Bill Lee come to Memphis on your behalf to help you campaign?
Yes, you will see at least one, if not three of those come and campaign on my behalf, and we're actively working on that. Senator Blackburn has already endorsed my candidacy. The U.S. House leadership has already reached out, and I'm beginning to receive endorsements from U.S. House leadership. Steve Scalise has endorsed my campaign, and I've been invited to the White House next week to finish discussions there about a possible Trump endorsement. So stay tuned for that. And it's just a very exciting time. I'm looking forward to joining the rest of the Republicans in Congress. And I'll say this, it sounds like we're ending.
We are ending soon.
So I've mentioned several times that this is the same district that Davy Crockett represented. Davy Crockett, when he lost his race for Congress, he stood on the courthouse steps and gave the shortest concession speech ever. They counted the votes. He came up a little bit short. He went outside to the people that were gathered there and he said, "I'm going to Texas and all you folks can go to hell. I'm just like Davy Crockett. I have that same Tennessee grit, but I'm different in one way." He went to Texas, and I'm going to Congress, and I'm going to give the Democrats hell.
Okay, well, that's a mic drop moment there. Senator Taylor, thank you for coming in. I know you're going to have a pretty busy schedule ahead, so good luck to you. And thank you for watching 24 Plus. Please watch ABC24 for all your political coverage as we head into the August primaries, but also August general election for Shelby County. Thank you for watching.